You're listening to the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, college sports beyond the game.
Hello and welcome everybody to a new episode of the Around the Huddle podcast. My name is John Gross, the host of this show. Really appreciate you joining us today. Around the Huddle, a show where we talk about all things college sports beyond the game. Again, big thanks to all of you for joining us today. Hope everyone's enjoying the end of May. Summer is just around the corner. I guess technically, Memorial Day weekend is kind of the start of summer for many people, but whatever. Weather's getting nice. College sports season is winding down. With that in mind, more and more people will be available to be guests on our show. So certainly stay tuned for that. A reminder to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to our page. By subscribing to our page, you get notified every time that we post a new video. Also, it helps us get more exposure, right? Helps us share these videos with others by liking, by commenting. Same thing, more exposure, more people can learn about the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. So like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate your support. Before we dive into today's guest, and he's a really good guest as well, a reminder that we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look, bottom of your screen, PAC-Hub.com. If you are a student athlete and you enter the portal, how can you stand out? How can you find that team? PAC-Hub can certainly help you get there. Go check out PAC-Hub, PAC-Hub.com. PAC-Hub basically runs tangentially to the NCAA transfer portal. So let's say you enter the NCAA portal, right? And when a coach is looking through the portal, they see the name, they see the NCAA ID, but they don't see the other stuff, the stats, the measurables, the academics. They really have to work for that. When you make a PAC-Hub page, all sorts of specifications get populated. So your stats, your measurables, your academic information, all of those things that can help a coach find you get populated in the PAC-Hub portal. And then from the coach's perspective, similar thing, right? You're missing that one piece, that point guard, that left-handed pitcher, whatever it is. You can narrow down your search to find that one missing piece by position, by measurables, by academics, all sorts of different specifications to help you out, really streamlines the process. Also, there's information on NIL, things of that nature, a lot of really good resources on the PAC-Hub website. So certainly check that out, PAC-Hub.com. With the summer basically here with the college sports season winding down, the portal's going to pick up. There's going to be a lot of movement as always. So certainly check that out. Okay, our guest today is somebody who I've had the good fortune of knowing for a few years now. Actually, he primarily works in the basketball coaching side of things, but we've also crossed paths in the broadcast world. He does some behind-the-scenes broadcast work as well. Our guest today is Thomas Lefler. Thomas was most recently the special assistant to the head coach at Winthrop University. For any college basketball fan, you know that Winthrop men's basketball is year in, year out, one of the best mid-major programs in the Southeast. Always a Big South Conference championship contender. He was hired there in June of 2024. He came to Winthrop after serving as a graduate assistant at Gardner-Webb, another Big South squad. Before his time at Gardner-Webb, he was a student manager under then head coaches Mark Prosser and Justin Gray for 4 years at his alma mater of Western Carolina University in Cullowhee, North Carolina, which I've heard is beautiful. Never had the chance to go, but I would love to one day. He's a native of Reidsville, North Carolina. Again, received his degree from Western Carolina, also has a master's degree from Gardner-Webb, and the proud son of Lisa and Ronnie Lefler. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest today to talk about college basketball, the ever-changing landscape of college hoops, and what it's like in the mid-major world today. Let's welcome on Thomas Lefler. Thomas, how are you? Thanks for coming on today.
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for having me on. Long time no see. I like watching you on ESPN Plus. I hate we couldn't get you down this year in Rock Hill to call a couple games, but we might have had you on when we went to Queens this year. I'm not sure, but
it's good to see you as well. Always a pleasure chatting with you. We've had so many insightful conversations over the years, and like I said, from the broadcast side of things, but also from the basketball side of things. And we're going to talk about a lot of those different basketball related topics today. Because there are so many things happening in the world of college basketball. Even though the season's not going on, anybody in the world of college hoops knows that there is no off season. But before we get to some of those hot button issues, let's talk a little bit about yourself. I kind of highlighted over your journey a little bit. So Thomas, tell us a little bit about why you got into coaching and what your experience has been like so far.
Yeah, so I guess a little over, 6 years ago now. I feel old, but I was a little 18-year-old freshman, arrived on campus at Western Carolina, saw a sign. There were posting signs everywhere looking for student managers. Mark Prosser, great guy, by the way, had just taken over the job, and he was introducing his inaugural staff. At the time, the director of basketball operations was Brett Ferguson, another great guy, really got me in the business. He Coach Ferguson approached me and was like, do you want to be a manager? And I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't really know what it was going to entail. Got there day one, balls are flying around, pads are flying around, whistles are blowing, and I was hooked from day one. So I was really fortunate to work with a great group of guys during my 4 years at Western. Oversaw a coaching change going into my senior year with Justin Gray and that staff, and they did some really good things while they were at Western. Obviously, they're down in Conway now, still doing great things at Coastal. And then after I completed my undergraduate work, I worked for Tim Kraft at Gardner-Webb, which is kind of funny because as I completed my master's work, he ended up leaving to take the job at Western Carolina. So it was almost like a full circle moment. The guy I was working for was going to my alma mater to work. Those are also great guys. Him, Adam Bullard, Andrew Brown, just great people to be around. So I'm very fortunate in my time, in my career, my short career so far, that I've been around some great individuals and worked for some really great people.
That's awesome. Yeah, some really awesome experiences in the Carolinas, which of course is such a hotbed for college basketball. And, you are also looking for opportunities as well. So if there's anybody out there who wants to reach out before we dive into the show, how can they contact you?
Well, my cell number is 336-520-1658. My email address can be available after that. Looking for any opportunity. Director of Ops, video coordinator, anything I can get my hands on. Just love the business, looking to be a part of it.
Hardworking guy who knows the ins and outs of the industry. And all right, let's dive into it. So you've had the opportunity to work at 3 mid-major programs in the Carolinas, which again, a hotbed of college basketball, some very competitive conferences in the Big South and the SoCon. I think some of the themes that we talk about today will transcend just basketball. Some of the issues facing mid-major basketball programs are also facing mid-major football, gymnastics, soccer, volleyball programs as well. So how would you assess the current state of from a very broad perspective, because I know mid-major can mean different things, right? Different levels of it. From a very broad perspective, how would you currently assess the state of play in mid-major men's college basketball?
Well, honestly, I'll start just looking in the Big South. The Big South had one of the best years in recent history. I believe we got as high as 17th in net ranking, I believe, out of 32 conferences. So just about top half of the NCAA Division I conferences. Obviously, you had your high points, your UNC Asheville's, Winthrop. Radford made a run there late towards the end. So the Big South as a whole is a really impressive conference, and there's no easy games night in and night out. And even over in the SoCon where I came from, that conference has really improved as a whole as of late. When I was a student manager, we kind of joke about it now. You had the dominant Wofford team my freshman year with Fletcher McGee, I believe his name was, and they didn't lose a conference game. And then the following year, you had the dominant ETSU team that kind of followed in the footsteps of Wofford, and they dominated the conference. But ever since then, it's kind of been like you've had your Chattanoogas and your Sanfords, and even Western with Coach Gray a couple years ago kind of poked their head in there and stirred the pot a little bit. So as a whole, I'm happy to see that more and more teams are being able to be competitive in these mid-major leagues.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like a lot of the discourse around mid-major athletics is that in this era of the portal and NIL, the mid-majors are being left behind and simply can't hang, right? I mean, you think of so many guys who have an outstanding season in the Big South, in the SoCon, and then they move on to a power conference team in the ACC or the Big 10 or the Big 12, whatever it may be. So what kind of impact has the portal and NIL had on mid-major college basketball from your perspective?
And again, the portal hasn't been around that long, I guess. In my very short time with dealing with it, we were at Gardner-Webb, I guess, after year one, and we didn't even recruit, or I shouldn't say not recruit. We weren't even actively recruiting until after the season because we knew the portal was going to be loaded. And that's really nowadays the model has shifted from bringing all these kids in on visits and stuff during the season in the fall and the summer to you kind of just wait around until when the portal opens in March and you run as many visits through as you can to get as many commits as you can, because who knows what your roster is now compared to a year now. We have no idea. Luckily at Winthrop, we didn't have very many transfer departures this year. We had more graduation and/or expired eligibility. You got a guy like Kelton Talford who played 5 years in a mid-major, and you speak of the guys that see all these numbers thrown at them. In my humble opinion, take this for what it's worth, probably doesn't mean much. There will probably never be another Kelton Talford who stays at a mid-major university for 5 years. It's because of the current landscape we're in. And honestly, shout out him for, he decided that he was going to stick around and build something at Winthrop University. He saw the numbers thrown at him and he shrugged his shoulders and turned away.
And he had a fantastic career and will be remembered for a long time because of that. So, but as you kind of hinted at, that's the exception to the rule now. Now guys are frequently leaving, yet, as you mentioned before, a lot of these schools in the Big South and the SoCon are still having success. So in this era of the portal, of NIL, where numbers-wise, just factually, mid-majors just can't hang with the power conference schools in terms of the NIL offers, how can these mid-majors stay competitive?
Well, honestly, and I don't want to speak for how we recruited at Winthrop. We were able to kind of go through and find some guys that were, I shouldn't say fringe minutes or anything like that. We didn't have any Power 5 transfers coming in this year. All of our transfers are from mid-major plus programs and/or regular mid-majors. My first year or earlier last season, we took a transfer from D3 Piedmont College, Ryan Jolly. So that's what I feel like you're going to see more and more at the mid-major level. You're going to see D3 All-Americans, D2 All-Americans, JUCO All-Americans that are finding their way into the Division I ranks a couple years after they come out of high school. They might not get recruited right away out of high school for whatever reason, whether it's academics or just raw ability, but they'll go play at a D2 or a D3 and be an All-American, and then all of a sudden they have Division I offers flying all over them. And we were fortunate enough that we were able to get a quality player like a Ryan Jolly out of the ranks of Division III.
It's funny that you mentioned D3 to D1. A couple of weeks ago, I was playing some pickup basketball with some work friends, and some random guy was at the gym, joined us. He was unbelievable, and he was wearing Marquette shorts. So I'm like, all right, you got to play for Marquette or something. And he's like, yes. I walked on to Marquette, And before that was an all-region player at a D3 school in Pennsylvania. This guy was unbelievable. But no, I'm glad that you brought that up because there's some unbelievable talent at the D3 and D2 level. What you just described reminds me of what we used to talk about often with JUCO, right? JUCO kind of was the original transfer portal. If you wanted a seasoned college basketball player, you could go to the JUCO ranks and get somebody. But you're saying D2, D3 is kind of where it's at now. So where does JUCO fall in with all of that?
It definitely still plays a part. I mean, there are teams throughout our league. You look at what my former boss, Jeremy Luther, is doing at Gardner-Webb right now. I believe they signed 3 or 4 JUCO players. Of course, he does have a really good pipeline in place. One of his assistants was a assistant at Northwest Florida, which is a really good JUCO in Florida. So he kind of has that pipeline in place. But there are teams. There's no shame. I will tell everybody there's no shame in going JUCO and being a baller at a JUCO, because you're going to get Division I offers if you truly are good at your academics and you're have a good skill set. There will be Division I offers eventually.
And if you want to learn more about JUCO, go watch our last episode. We spoke with Zach McKinstry from the NJCAA National Office about all of the things, everything JUCO basically, and some of the movements that they're currently fighting for to be on equal footing with the NCAA in terms of eligibility and GPA and so on and so forth. So certainly check that out, our last Around the Huddle interview. Talking about all of this and about how schools are going after JUCO guys and transfers, the one group that seemingly has gotten left behind in all of this, the high school guys. Where do high school players now fall in the pecking order of college basketball recruiting?
Well, I certainly wouldn't say that they're falling behind. Winthrop, we signed a true freshman from Lexington, South Carolina. So that was more of a South Carolina pipeline type of thing. And there's no telling what next year will look like. There could be 3 or 4 true freshmen in South Carolina that develop into really good players. But again, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier, that if you are currently an unsigned senior and you have a Division II or III offer on your table, don't be a D1 or bust type of kid. Go sign to that D2 or D3, play for a year, get some college basketball experience, because at whatever level, there is a jump between high school and college basketball, no matter what level you play at. So even putting up decent numbers at the D3 level, you will get phone calls when the portal opens. So I would just encourage, seniors and juniors and even sophomores in high school, don't be a D1 or bust. If you want to continue to play in college basketball, grind it out at D3 or D2, and you will get offers.
Which that's always been the JUCO model. Guys go in JUCO for 2 years and then they go D1 or whatever it may be. Have you heard of D2 or D3 programs who are branding themselves as places where, hey, you come here for 2 years, we're going to develop you, we're going to win a lot of games, and then we'll help promote you to D1? So that's something that has happened? Because to me, that somewhat makes sense a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there are places like that out there. It honestly has to do with connections that different head coaches have. At Winthrop, we happen to have a connection with, I mentioned Piedmont and Ryan Jolly. We happen to have a prior connection with the former head coach at Piedmont. I just saw an article where he resigned today to be an athletic director. But we had a connection with him, and we were able to get Ryan from Piedmont because of that. And again, I'm not going to, I can't speak for every head coach in the country, but I'm sure that they have multiple cell phone numbers in their contacts of multiple D2 and D3 coaches. When there's a kid who has truly can show he can play the Division I level, that someone's calling somebody.
One of the other recent trends that we've seen take off in recent years in college basketball is the influx of foreign players, especially from Europe. In years past, the model of you are a standout player from Europe, you develop in Europe, you go through the professional clubs there, and then you come to the NBA, like Luka famously did in recent years, but countless players have done that over the years to get to the NBA. Now with NIL being a factor, guys are forgoing that path and saying, hey, let me get to the U.S. a little bit early, let me go to college, let me make some money through NIL, and then let me get drafted. So what have you seen in that regard in terms of foreign guys coming to the U.S.?
So not so much at Winthrop. I don't believe we had any foreign players on our roster last year, but when I was at Gardner-Webb last year, we had a guard, Shahar Lazar from Israel. He transferred from New Mexico State to Gardner-Webb, but he was almost older than me as a true freshman. And that's just the way it is. You know, you got kids like Shahar who in Israel, you have your mandatory 2 years of military service when you turn 18. So when he got done at age 20, he had played for 2 years professionally, and he comes to Gardner-Webb, and you have a true 18-year-old true freshman in practice, and he's guarding a 20-year-old. So Shahar already had a leg up on his competition just because he was, older. And I think you're going to see more and more of that of colleges seeing these true freshmen, 20-year-olds, and being able to stack their rosters with them, and you go and play a group of 18 and 19-year-olds, and it's night and day. It's the same model as having kids that are the 5th-year or 6th-year kids playing a true freshman. Instead of that, you have a true freshman who's 20 years old playing an 18-year-old.
Right. And look, getting foreign players is nothing new for college basketball. Like Gonzaga's done it for years. St. Mary's always has a couple of guys from Australia. Davidson, I know, has always had a very diverse roster in terms of guys coming from all around the world. But now we're seeing some of the big dogs, some of the blue bloods bringing guys in. Kentucky's had guys. I mean, I feel like Illinois, their entire team is from Europe at this point. And it just seems like NIL continues to bring guys over. So do you expect that we will continue to see that trend for years to come of foreign guys now coming to the U.S. rather than playing professionally in Europe before going to the draft?
I do, because at this point, and talking and hearing agents talk of the kids that represent in Europe, the NIL money over here is almost better or comparable to what a kid will make playing in a tier 2 or 3 league in Europe.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
Wow. So yeah, money talks. It makes sense. And then they come here and they get developed. Okay, so you got to work with Shahar. Is he the only international player that you've had the chance to coach?
We also had Taku Youngblood at Gardner-Webb. He was from Japan. He was, again, an older player who had spent a couple years playing pro over in Japan before he came to Gardner-Webb. So,
one of my questions that I have about that, and it's obviously a big talking point across all of basketball, is the difference in development overseas versus in the U.S. Have you seen major differences in those guys compared to the guys who were from the U.S., or just overall, what's your overall take on that whole discussion?
I haven't seen it firsthand, but just hearing the way that Shahar would talk about things is that, like, the style of basketball in FIBA is much more physical, is a much more physical brand of basketball. So while that is a good thing because he was roughed up a lot over there and it taught him a couple of lessons, coming over to play NCAA basketball, we had to be like, all right, Tony, you're going to foul out if you keep grabbing like that. Like you cannot grab in college basketball anymore. In FIBA, yeah, you can pull, as long as you're not pushing, they kind of let it go.
So interesting. And that's why watching the Olympics last year, it felt like for some of the guys in Team USA, there was a little bit of an adjustment period. It is more physical and the rules are different, right? You can block a shot that's over the cylinder, even on free throws, if I'm correct.
Yeah, there's all sorts of weird FIBA rules. And honestly, one of the better things college basketball did 3 or 4 years ago at this point was to just go ahead and make the 3-point line the international line.
Yes.
They had experimented with moving it a couple inches here and there, and then I think eventually they were like, we're just going to make it the international line. So,
yeah, I'm totally with you on that. It makes more sense just to have it be the same. Okay, we have all sorts of people who tune into the show, people who just love sports, people who study the industry, who work in the industry. We also have people who are either high school recruits or parents of high school recruits. We touched a little bit on this earlier, but in this world of uncertainty when it comes to high school recruiting, what are some tidbits of advice that you would have for a junior or a senior in high school, or maybe their parent who is a little bit concerned and a little bit confused about this process?
Yeah, and I would like I mentioned earlier, if you're an unsigned current high school senior or junior and you have Division 2 or 3 offers, especially if you're a senior, I encourage you to take those offers. The longer you wait, obviously, every offer has a deadline. As long as you are on the back burner of whatever university, there's somebody that a coach is on the phone with calling the next guy in line. If you tell him, I need a few days to wait, well, you might get a few days, but then you're not going to get more than a week or two. That's for sure. And so patience, really just be patient. I know it's a very, even in the coaching world, when you are changing jobs or whatever, it's very nerve-wracking and anxiety-riddled process because you don't know. My phone might ring right now and somebody could tell me, hey, I'm hiring you as my director of ops. I need you to start on Monday. And the job is in California. I don't care how you get here, just be here. It's just how it's, even for student athletes, it's becoming more and more of a business.
Totally. Yeah, we've had a bunch of episodes about how the college sports industry has just changed completely. It is such a business now. And, it's a good thing, though, because these athletes can make money, but there are some stresses and challenges that certainly come with that. Okay, as we wind down in the show, I want to ask you kind of a more fun question. I am very firm with my belief on this question, but what is your thought on the potential expansion of the NCAA tournament? That's been something that we've seen people talk about now for a couple of years. It seems like there's more momentum behind that. But what's your thought on it as somebody who has a lot of experience coaching at the mid-major level?
So I'm torn on it. When it first got talked about, I was like, no way. 68 is enough. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. And then I do have thoughts of, well, if we did expand it, by a few more teams, it would, as they call them, units. It gives more opportunity for mid-major teams in their conferences to earn units. So why not? If there's if the selection committee at the end of the day is like, we can't really tell between 68 and 69 and 70, why not open it up to 70 or 72 teams at that point? If there's you cannot draw a line between team number 68 in the field and team number 72 in the field because their resumes are all similar, expand the play-in and maybe even do something cool, like instead of Dayton is a great host site, but maybe do like a campus site as a play-in game or something like that, and then move on to Dayton.
That would be awesome.
Like the NBA is doing now with the play-in tournament for their tournament. So why not? I go back and forth on it every day, but it would have to be extenuating circumstances where they literally cannot tell between Team 68 and Team 72, especially with the NIT now, and they shook things up with their model. Which, by the way, shout out Chattanooga, a mid-major winning the NIT tournament the first year after they changed the format of the NIT is amazing. Yes,
and they changed it to favor the power conference schools, so it makes it even more difficult. You mentioned the units, just to explain for those who might not be familiar. The NCAA, they pay out per win to the conference whenever a team gets in and wins a game. even the play-in games count as a unit. So each round is a different monetary value. That money is then divided up amongst the schools in the conference. So there is major financial support when these schools get in, especially for the mid-major conferences, which brings me back to my point on this whole matter. If you're going to expand, I don't want to see the 10th best team in the Big Ten or the SEC get in. I want to see the second best team in the Big South get in. I want to see the third or fourth best team in the A-10 get in. So my concern would be that if they expand, they would only expand towards more power conference teams. If they said, okay, I know they couldn't do this, but if they had some sort of guarantee or adjusted the formula, I don't know, if they made me feel better about them potentially getting more mid-majors in the tournament, then I'd be okay with it. Until then, I'm a little weary of it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, and certainly like another fun idea that maybe the NCAA will take my fun idea and run with it. I'm full of them. Is if you have a regular season, now that the NIT has changed, if you have a regular season champion, you take High Point from 2 years ago, who ends up losing the conference tournament in a Big South where only one team gets in. Well, why not? Why not let the regular season champion get in as like a play-in team, and they have to play themselves into the NCAA field instead of just sending. And nothing against Longwood. What they did in that stretch run in High Point was amazing. Instead of having a 16 seed Longwood go against Houston and get their doors blown off, why not sneak a High Point in and see what they can do?
Totally. No, that makes sense. I have never understood why the automatic bid has gone to the team who wins the tournament versus the regular season. I'm an outsider. I'm not sure. But to me, it seems a lot more impressive and more indicative of who the actual best team is in a conference when they win the regular season than just by getting hot over a 4-day stretch in March. Am I far off on that, or what's your thought on that?
Putting together 4 wins, nothing to take away from putting 4 wins together in March,
right,
because it is extremely hard. But putting together 12 or 13, 14 conference wins on a Wednesday to Saturday basis for 6 weeks is equally as impressive and should get recognized.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess my final thought on that is just I want more mid-major teams in March, and I feel like the majority of people want more mid-major teams in March. Let's just hope that the decision makers want more mid-major teams in March as well, which, I don't know, in recent years, they haven't really shown a willingness to do that with some of the selection committee's choices, but we will see. But Thomas, this was fantastic. We appreciate all of your insight on mid-major basketball, some of the changes in the world of mid-major hoops. And again, I think a lot of these things apply to other sports, not just mid-major basketball, but I'm sure that a Big South soccer coach probably shares some of the similar sentiments that you shared today as well. So thank you so much for your time today, and all the best moving forward.
Thank you so much, Don. Thanks for having me on. Now that I know about this podcast, I'll be sure to start tuning in more.
Yeah, go hit that subscribe button after this show, but really appreciate it. Once again, a big thanks to Thomas Lefler for hopping on today's show, sharing his wisdom and insights with us, talking about the ever-changing landscape of college sports through the lens of mid-major college basketball. A reminder that we are powered by PAC-Hub. Take a look, bottom of your screen, pac-hub.com. If you are a student athlete looking for a new home, if you are a coach looking for that missing piece to take your squad to the next level so you can get into the NCAA tournament, whether it's expanded or stays at 68 teams, check out PAC-Hub, pac-hub.com. Kevin Hinchy and the squad have some amazing things going on, especially in the world of college baseball. Baseball postseason is starting up, so certainly check that out. Also, a quick programming note. We did have a little bit of a shuffle in terms of our schedule. So next week, we will be having on one of the all-time great softball players. I will leave it at that, but we'll keep you guessing there. You don't want to miss that discussion. It will be amazing to speak with a legend and somebody who has a lot of awesome thoughts on college softball and where it currently stands in this ever-changing landscape of college athletics. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. I'm John Gross saying so long. This has been the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub.